You know what's wild? I just got done reading Jeff Passan's latest piece, and I'm sitting here trying to process what this could mean for the Dodgers heading into next season. We're talking about one of those scenarios that doesn't come around very often, the kind of opportunity that could redefine an entire franchise's trajectory for the next half decade. Passan just released his list of the top 25 players who could potentially be moved this offseason, and sitting right there at number one is Tarik Skubal. Not number five, not buried somewhere in the middle, but number one with a bullet. The reigning back-to-back American League Cy Young winner, a guy who just turned 30 and is pitching at an absolutely elite level. And according to multiple sources, the Dodgers are being mentioned as one of the serious contenders if Detroit actually decides to pull the trigger on a trade. Before we go any further, I need you to smash that like button and subscribe to help us hit 12,000 subscribers. Your support keeps this channel going, and I genuinely appreciate every single one of you watching right now. Let me start by saying something important about Jeff Passan. When it comes to baseball insiders, there's a hierarchy, right? You've got guys like John Morosi, Bob Nightingale, John Heyman, all of them breaking news and throwing stuff out there. Some of it sticks, some of it doesn't. But when Jeff Passan reports something, when his name is attached to a story, that's when I sit up and pay real attention. He's not throwing speculation at the wall to see what sticks. He's connected at the highest levels, and when he says something is happening or could happen, there's serious weight behind it. So the fact that he's listing Skubal as the number one player who could be traded this offseason, that's not just clickbait. That's legitimate intel about what's going on behind closed doors around the league. Now, let's talk about what we actually know regarding Skubal's situation in Detroit. Matthew Corey reported a while back that when the Tigers sat down with Skubal to discuss a contract extension, their offer came in somewhere under $80 million for 4 years. Let me repeat that. Under $80 million for 4 years for a back-to-back Cy Young winner who's 30 years old and in his absolute prime. That's insulting. That's not even in the same universe as what Skubal is worth on the open market. When you look at what starting pitchers are getting paid right now, when you consider that Skubal is arguably the best pitcher in baseball over the last 2 seasons, that offer is a non-starter. According to the reporting, that left the two sides somewhere around $320 million apart in their valuations. That's not a negotiation gap. That's a canyon. And when you're that far apart, it raises serious questions about whether the Tigers are actually committed to keeping him long-term or if they're just going through the motions before exploring trade options. Here's the thing, though. The Tigers aren't exactly coming out and saying they want to trade him. In fact, publicly, they've been pretty consistent in their messaging. They intend to contend next season. They view Skubal as their centerpiece, the guy everything revolves around. And why wouldn't they? He's coming off a season where he posted a 2.21 ERA, a whip under .9, struck out 241 batters in 195 innings, gave up only 18 home runs, and allowed just 6.5 hits per 9 innings. Those aren't just good numbers. Those are historically elite numbers. You can argue all you want about how competitive the American League Cy Young race was, but Skubal was clearly the best pitcher in that league. He was better than Garrett Crochet, better than everyone else who got votes. It wasn't particularly close when you actually dive into the metrics. This is a guy at the absolute peak of his powers, and Detroit would be taking an enormous risk by moving him when they're trying to build a contender. But here's where it gets interesting. Jeff Passan addresses this exact contradiction in his piece. He writes, and I'm paraphrasing here, that despite several executives around the league believing Skubal will be moved, the Tigers have shown no signs of changing their stance that he's staying put in Detroit. They point to the fact that he's their centerpiece, that extension talks have stalled, and that they fully intend to compete again next season after coming so close to reaching the American League Championship Series this past year. All of that sounds great on paper. It's exactly what you'd expect a team to say publicly. But Passan also notes something crucial. Skubal is going to be a free agent after next season. His trade value is at its absolute zenith right now, and if those extension talks truly are going nowhere, the Tigers have to seriously consider whether it makes more sense to cash in now and get a massive return rather than risk losing him for nothing in free agency or watching his value potentially decline. Think about this from Detroit's perspective for a second. Skubal just turned 30. His value will never be higher than it is right this moment. If they trade him now, they could get a package of young, controllable talent that sets them up for sustained success over the next 5 to 7 years. If they hold on to him, they're banking on him staying healthy, maintaining this elite level of performance, and either agreeing to an extension that they clearly can't afford or are unwilling to pay, or they lose him after next season for draft pick compensation. That's a massive gamble. And if next season doesn't go the way they hope, if they're not in contention by the trade deadline, then his trade value drops because teams are only getting him for a potential playoff push rather than a full season plus playoffs. The leverage shifts entirely. So while Detroit is saying all the right things publicly, I think there's a very real scenario where they reassess the situation after the winter meetings, especially if extension talks remain stalled. Passan goes on to outline the teams that would be the best fits for Skubal if he does become available, and guess who's right near the top of that list? The Dodgers. The Mets are listed as the team to watch most closely, which makes sense given their new ownership's willingness to spend and Steve Cohen's desire to build a championship roster. But right behind them are the Dodgers, followed by the Orioles, Yankees, Red Sox, and Giants, all contending teams with deep farm systems who could put together compelling packages. The question for the Dodgers specifically is whether they actually need to make this move. Their rotation right now is already stacked. Yoshinobu Yamamoto just won World Series MVP and looks like he's going to be an ace for years to come. Blake Snell was fantastic when healthy and gives them another frontline starter. Shohei Ohtani is the best player on the planet and will be back on the mound. Tyler Glasnow is still on the roster even though trade rumors persist. You've got young guys like Gavin Stone and River Ryan who should be ready for spring training. And of course, there's the Roki Sasaki situation that could add another elite arm to the mix. So with all that talent already in-house, does it make sense to go out and acquire Tarik Skubal? My answer is absolutely yes. Here's why. Depth matters, durability matters. The Dodgers dealt with a staggering number of injuries to their starting rotation last season. They managed to overcome it and win a championship, but they were also fortunate in how things broke for them in October. You can't count on that level of luck every single year. If they're serious about a three-peat, if they want to maximize this window while Shohei is in his prime and Yamamoto is ascending, then you add elite talent wherever you can find it. Skubal isn't just an upgrade, he's insurance. He's the kind of pitcher who can anchor a postseason rotation and give you a legitimate ace-level performance when everything is on the line. And let me show you something that really drives this home. If you go look at Skubal's Baseball Savant page, it's legitimately one of the most impressive pages you'll ever see for a starting pitcher. Almost everything is red or dark red, meaning he's in the elite 95th percentile or higher across the board. The only areas where he's around the 50th percentile are things like extension, which is basically a useless metric, and ground ball percentage and barrel percentage. And honestly, those don't even matter that much because guys don't make solid contact against him often enough for it to be relevant. When you throw as hard as he does with the kind of movement he generates, and when batters are constantly swinging and missing or making weak contact, who cares if the occasional barrel goes a long way? It's not happening frequently enough to hurt him. This is an elite pitcher in every meaningful sense. So here's my question for you, and I really want to hear your thoughts on this. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being least likely and 10 being most likely, what are the odds that Tarik Skubal actually gets traded this offseason? For me personally, I'd put it around a 4 right now, maybe creeping toward a 5. I think the Tigers genuinely want to keep him and compete next year, but I also think that if those extension talks stay stalled, if they keep getting offers that blow them away, and if they start doing the math on losing him for nothing in free agency, that number could climb quickly. There's just too much value on the table to ignore. If I'm Detroit's front office, and I know that I'm $200 or $300 million apart from Skubal on an extension, I'm at least listening to what teams are offering. I'm exploring what kind of package I could get back. Because if you can land 3 or 4 elite prospects who are controllable for the next 6 years, that might be better for your long-term outlook than 1 more year of Skubal followed by watching him walk. From the Dodgers' perspective, they have the assets to make this happen. Their farm system is still strong despite all the graduations and trades over recent years. They have the payroll flexibility to absorb Skubal's contract for next season and potentially extend him if they want to go that route. And they have the organizational infrastructure to support another elite arm and help him maximize his potential. If they can acquire him without gutting the entire farm system, without giving up untouchable major league pieces, then it's absolutely worth exploring. You don't pass up opportunities to add generational talent just because your roster is already good. You make your roster better and worry about the depth chart later. But there's one more thing Passan mentions in his report that I think is worth noting. He asks how long Skubal, who just turned 30, can keep this level of performance up. It's a fair question. Pitchers are volatile. We've seen guys fall off cliffs seemingly overnight. Injuries happen, stuff diminishes, the league adjusts. I don't think that's going to happen to Skubal anytime soon. His track record suggests he's durable, his stuff is electric, and he's entering what should be his prime years. But it is something to consider when you're talking about giving up significant assets or committing major money to an extension. For the Dodgers, the calculus might be simpler. Trade for him, ride him for a championship push next year, and then reassess when he hits free agency after the season, especially with the new collective bargaining agreement negotiations happening in 2027 that could change the entire financial landscape of baseball. Look, I don't know if this trade is actually going to happen. Detroit could very well hold firm and run it back with Skubal for one more year. But the fact that Jeff Passan is reporting this, the fact that executives around the league believe he's gettable, and the fact that the Dodgers are being mentioned as a legitimate suitor, that's enough to get my attention. This would be a franchise-altering move. It would solidify the rotation for a three-peat push. It would give them another bona fide ace to pair with Yamamoto and Ohtani, and it would send a message to the rest of the league that the Dodgers aren't satisfied with just one championship. They want to build a dynasty. We'll keep you updated on everything as this story develops because, trust me, this is one you're going to want to follow closely. But for now, drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you want to see Skubal in Dodger blue? What would you be willing to give up to make it happen? Let's talk about it. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 12,000, and I need your help to get us there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.